would have been like to miss the playoffs in this situation?
Oh, it definitely would have sucked. I mean, it's the same as Martin's thinking. He's had a great year. That group's really strong, and they were in our spot to where they just didn't win a race. They've had a really good year, and it just didn't work out for those guys. So, I'd be in the same headspace as he is unfortunate, and it stinks for all your guys and stuff like that. But fortunately for us, it worked out.
What kind of travesty would it have been for you to run third, second, first in the points all season long, and then have to watch this from the outside looking in?
Definitely would have sucked. We've had a good year, really good year. Just the wins haven't come, and that's what hasn't made it a great year. So that would have definitely stunk. But you understand the playoff format, and you understand you need to win races, and we just haven't been able to accomplish that. And so it definitely would have been a bummer. But fortunately, it worked out for us, and we were able to make it happen.
And you were aware of the cars rolling away. As the cars started dipping off of the track out of the field and you kept moving up in points, was Hessler letting you know that?
We took a look at some of the guys sitting on pit road before we went back racing, that weren't already declared themselves as out. And we're like, that'll be a shock if that guy could keep going, and that guy, and that guy. And there was like one or two guys that were only a lap away from us on points, so we passed them too. So I noticed a couple guys had big damage, and they tried to complete one or two laps to get by the cars that wrecked in that big one that they were in. But I didn't really notice many, but he kind of kept me up to date on the points thing. Josh did, as the laps were winding down.
So what was the delay like, as you were not knowing what was going to happen?
It was fine. Sat up on the box for about an hour or so, and I went back to the bus and changed out of my wet clothes and had some dinner and just watched the PGA Tour. So, like I said, there's just nothing you can do. I've got in my head, there's no use in sitting there pulling your hair out over it. Like, it's not in your control. You can only just go out there and hope it gets back racing. I fully accepted the fact that it could downpour at any moment and we'd be out. You just got to accept those things and know that you have no control over it. So no point in stressing yourself out over that. You just try to relax and hope for the best.
Can you remember another time in your Cup career where you had such drama that you had to maintain the focus like this, that it could have changed?
I don't know. My first Pocono win was pretty tough, focus-wise, but that was a different kind of focus.
Right.
That was like, in the moment focus and trying to battle with another guy. This was just trying to keep your head on your shoulders and keep calm. So I don't know if I've really had anything like that. Sorry about that. And I've been working on that of actually trying to keep a little bit more positive attitude about things, and there's definitely a testament of it today, so maybe that was a big hurdle and I'd like to have jumped over it.
As you've been through this process, it's been hard not to think about the close calls this year that you've had in the numerous races that you thought you might win for whatever reason.
It's easy to nitpick it, when we were sitting out by 10 points or so, you're like, and that race was 10 points, that race was 6, and this one was 4, that adds up. You're like, oh my gosh. But that's with everything. It's easy to look back on the deals and be like, man, we gave up so many points in that race. That's hard to do. But I thought about that before coming here for a second. If we would have put together a better Watkins Glen race, we could have been 35 points up on Martin coming here, and it would have been easier. But the whole weekend, I never really thought about prior races of throwing away points.
What'd you say, Jonathan, when you got in the car?
Great job. Great job. All those guys, shook all those guys' hands and tell them good job, and way to stick with it. They did a hell of a job fixing that thing. It was destroyed. I'm going to be honest with you. I got done wrecking and the wheel was 180 degrees, turned around and was not driving. The right front was stopped. They did a great job of fixing it and making it to where it was halfway decent enough to where we could keep running and make minimum speed. So that's just thanked all those guys for sticking with it. They were as big a part of this as I was of keeping their head in the game.
What went through your mind initially when you were caught up in that wreck? Did you think, oh, my day's over?
I don't know. I just try to get running straight and then just assess your damage. You're like, okay, what do I got? How bad is it? And then after you kind of come down pit road, you're like, man, I cannot believe that happened. We're 20 laps into this race. We weren't even being aggressive, just running there. And, the guy just bumped someone too hard and ended up getting tagged. So, but I don't know. A lot was going on. So you just try to assess your car and then you're like, man, that sucks. But then you kind of just get over it and realize this is what it is and make the most of it.
Now that you got this.
One more, guys. What was the damage to the car?
The right front tie rod was broke. Toe link was broke. the hood's flying off of it. So we spent a lot of money on bear bond today. Went through our bear bond reserves, but yeah, just suspension, body, kind of you name it. It was pretty rough, but like I said, luckily it was good enough.
How do you change the minds? Yeah, I was going to say.
Emotionally drained?
Yeah, I mean, it had to be a roller coaster kind of day, wasn't it?
I don't know. I want to go home and crack open a beer and relax a little bit, because that was a stressful day. That's a long weekend, honestly, of no qualifying, not getting in the car, don't race last night. Wait around a day after, you get wrecked, and then you have a 3-hour rain delay. Just, you're definitely mentally drained, so it'd be nice to relax a little bit.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Well, winning's always the ones that come first to mind, but with everything that was on the line for RCR today, trying to get Austin in the playoffs, a lot of crazy things unfolded, and I'm really glad it went the way that it did. We were able to finish it. I knew our car wasn't in that bad of shape. We were just going to have to work really efficiently on pit road. And starting back there where we did, because we pitted under a red flag or closed pit road, was going to put us behind. So just had to fight really hard. Found Noah at the right time where you get around some of those cars that had damage a little bit slower. We were able to run up to that group of cars and just sit and wait. Kind of wanted to make the move about the time that Austin did. I was hoping I was going to be able to, the three of us were going to be able to make it together. For not really having a plan and it going the way that it did, it went about perfectly. I had to kind of go high around Austin, Cindric, and I was able to snake through and get to the back bumper of Austin, Dylan, and really provide the buffer that I feel like was going to be necessary with a lot of really hungry drivers behind us in the closing laps.
At that point, you become a company man, right? When you get to his bumper.
Yeah. I know that may be hard to believe, but certainly I had no interest, and he knew that. I wasn't going to pass him. I was going to be playing blocker for the rest of the field.
It's been a while since both RCR cars made the playoffs. You just work together from here on out, just try to help each other advance.
Oh, we have been doing that all year long. The 8's had some struggles this year, and the 3's been there to help us, and vice versa. So it's really good that a lot of Chevrolets, whether it's Trackhouse, Hendrick, ourselves, all of our cars are in the playoffs, so we're able to really work together in a lot of key races coming up, in all the ways that we have this year. I think there's 15 out of 27 races that Chevy cars have won, so we're on the right. Things are clicking. I know today was a little chaotic, but still a win. It still counts. So cars have had good speed, and now we're going to be able to, all of us together, work towards the same goal, and that's making it through the playoffs, and hopefully 4 of us making a championship 4.
There's been a lot of, probably tension that we don't even see behind the scenes since your announcement. You think this does alleviate some of that pressure on you internally in the company that you helped him get in the playoffs here?
It's not why I did it. I did it for Austin. Didn't really do it for. That wasn't even on my mind, honestly. It was just trying to get my friend, my teammate, fellow driver at RCR in the playoffs, because it's not just my group of guys that deserve it. It's everybody at RCR that works really hard on these cars, and now both of our cars are in the playoffs.
What did you think when you saw him tap Cindric?
Well, I didn't really see the tap. I just saw Austin get sideways. My first instinct was the lift, but I knew it's Daytona. If you lift, you might lose the draft, so I just stayed in it. And thankfully, I had room to squeeze underneath him, and I was able to get to Austin's back bumper, and it kind of calmed down after that.
Much damage. We were never going to be a factor with the race going back green.
Did you care whether they went back green? Do you think it was good? Obviously, it cost Martin, but is it?
Well, it cost us 3 spots as well too. I don't know what any of that means for us, so I have no idea. But if it costs Martin making it, that obviously sucks for JGR, Toyota as a whole.
Is that fair game if the guy's going for playoff spot?
I think it's fair game any race of the season, but obviously that meant a lot for him to win that race, and he had 3 cars that were certainly going to be able to work with him, and I was lifting way before the flag stand trying not to get that gap, and they kept trying to get their runs, and I feel like they got their run too late, and then he hit me straight on the entry of the corner, but just glad I saved it, glad I had a shot to still come back up to the field, but I hate losing.
Austin talking things over, holding forward, and had it up there on the front. What happened?